Children safe. A public service from the internet broadcasting community and this station. This webcaster uses Radio Amber, the internet radio Amber Alert System, helping to keep your children safe. A public service from the internet broadcasting community and this station.
Band Talk. Welcome to Band Talk with Carmen Allgood, David Barber, and Mark Maverick. Band Talk. Talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of being an independent band. Band Talk.
And that is right. This is Mark Maverick along with Carmen Allgood and David Barber, and this is Band Talk. And today we have a topic that actually a lot of people have been asking about this over the last couple years, and that is to sign or not to sign. Do you really want to sign with a record label? And I think it's kind of interesting. And I think, David, I think you're the one that said, hey, let's do this one this week, right?
Yeah, because I was thinking about it, and I've heard some stories from various bands over the years that got signed and then ended up, basically getting screwed over by the labels. And they thought, oh, hey, this is it. This is our dream come true. This is what we've been working for all these years. And then the label proceeds to screw them over, and there are some things that a label can do that a big label that is difficult or just outrageously expensive to do if you're not signed. But we'll get into that there. And a lot more of those questions there. But if you have a question specifically about this, you can get in our chat room. We're in there right now at indie104.com. Just click on chat room, and Dave is going to be the moderator in there. So if you have a question, just come on in there. We're trying to make this interactive because we are live. And, so ask a question.
You can send your love mail to me.
Yeah.
Or at iRADIO LA.
Yes. Yeah. So we're in the chat room, indie104.com. Get in there right now. And, in fact, you can even see us live on the video chat. So you can get in there as well. You can get to see Carmen's and David's picture anyway. And I don't know if David can see the picture that I have, but it's the same picture that you have on their Skype there. But we also feature 3 bands. And Carmen, who are you featuring today?
Oh boy, I just love this guy out of Southern California, Dane Drewis. And I tell you what, this guy just absolutely has a great chance of making it over the top and becoming a household name, and I certainly wish him the best in that. And you're going to love this song. It's called Sweet Music. All
right, and David, who are you featuring?
I've got the new Ben Franklins, and we're going to play a song off of their recent album, which is oddly titled Peter Gabriel.
Oh, wow. That is cool. And let's see, I'm going to be featuring the band that we interviewed yesterday, The Great American Novel. And one of their songs, American Weekend. So we've got some great music coming up here. We got a great topic. And again, if you want to interact with us and ask some questions about this and see if we can answer them for you live right here in the air, just go to indie104.com, click on the chat room. Also, you can check us out on the video chat, at least some of the pictures anyway. And we'll talk some more about that. And let's see, just to update, you can get us on iTunes now. We podcast. And if you missed the shows, go to iTunes or go to the indie104.com, click on Band Talk, and it'll take you to iTunes so you can subscribe to that. It's absolutely free. And, you get...
We're going to be on YouTube soon?
Who's going to be on YouTube?
Us.
Oh, yeah, we already are. Yeah,
it's like the Three Stooges coming back to life again.
Yes.
This whole topic, it reminds me of a nursery rhyme. Ladies and gentlemen, hobos and ants, cross-eyed mosquitoes and cross-legged ants, or something like that. I'm here before you to stand behind you to tell you something I know nothing about.
Yes, that's exactly right. That is exact. That fits us perfectly.
We'll wing it with a prayer here, kids, so hang on.
There we go. Anyway, when we come back, we are going to be talking about to sign or not to sign. Do you really want to get signed by a record label? So stay tuned for that, and also join our chat room on indie104.com, and we'll be back right after this. Join me, Mark Maverick, along with Carmen Allgood and David Barber as we talk about everything you ever wanted to know about being in a band, from gigging to managing, on Band Talk, live every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, exclusively on Indie 104. Band Talk.
Well, I'm just sitting here waiting for you, wishing that door would swing open. Yeah, I've had a drink or two, but still I feel so down, 'cause I can't wait for the moment that you walk in. When you do, it's sweet, sweet music. When you do, the sound is so good. When you do, my heart catches rhythms. When you do, I feel love. About this thing, she told me that we will never ever feel the same. 'Cause I don't know what I'd do if you never came home. I'm afraid I might go looking and never return. When you do, it's sweet, sweet music. When you do, the sound is so good. When you do, my heart catches rhythms. When you do, I feel love.
And we're back with more Band Talk with Carmen Allgood, David Barber, and Mark Maverick.
there.
And that's right. We are back, and this is Band Talk, and I'm Mark Maverick, along with Carmen Allgood and David Barber. And today's topic, we are going to be talking about to sign or not to sign. Do you really want to get signed by a record label?
Now, don't you want me to talk about that great artist for a second?
Oh, yes, that is my fault. I apologize.
Dane Druis. You can go to danedruis.com. I tell you what, this guy's got the coolest website. And we talked about that at one time, and a friend of his actually put it together. It took a little doing, but it's very, very cool, very, very friendly. Lots of information. You can sample his music there. danedruis.com. That particular song from his latest album, Rock and Soul. Sweet
How do you spell
music.
That last name, Carmen?
Drewis, just like I drew in the sand. It is Druis. And anyway, he really made a big name for himself in the Sacramento area, and then people were telling him he just needs to go on down to get into the LA scene, and he has recently done that, so we wish him a lot of luck in that big major tough music market.
Yeah, it is very tough down here in Los Angeles. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today, about toughness in the music business, and that's about getting signed by a record label. And, is it good or is it bad? And
sure, there's both sides of that coin.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons. There are things that a major label can do that, nobody else can, unless you got a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly. And, in fact, that's what it takes is a lot of money.
Right. But at the same time, the labels are in the business to make as much money as they can for themselves, which, like any business, for the most part, they're not in it, for the artist. They're in it for the money.
Exactly.
And so they're going to spend, so they've got money that they can spend to help you become big, but sometimes they don't want to spend it, or if they feel like it would be a waste of money, they're going to not spend it, and then you can be in a bad situation.
Yeah. Now, a lot of the top reasons why people want to get signed, because they think it's going to validate them as an artist. It's going to make them rich, and we know that's not true.
And famous.
Yeah, it's going to make me famous, and they get to sing in front of large audiences. Those are the top 4 reasons why people want to get signed. And you know what's really funny? I think all 4 of those are mostly false.
Well, I mean, if you're the next Sheryl Crow or somebody else that big, and you're selling millions of albums, all those can be true.
Yeah.
But first, with the contraction of the industry, the fewer labels, and people aren't buying as much CDs. There's less money, so they're signing fewer people. They're not developing people or artists. So it's harder than ever to get that kind of a good deal, and even the lousy deals are hard to come by. It's difficult. So
yeah, major labels nowadays.
Even the major labels have taken a major bath in what we would call a return on their investment, and primarily we can blame it on the bossa nova and the internet. Because the internet now has made it possible for people to quit buying entire albums and then go in and buy their favorite song off the album. Mm-hmm. And so the record labels have gone down. The major record labels are having a heck of a time, and talk about a bloodbath. I mean, people that have worked in this industry for decades are vanishing from the executive lineup. And of course, then, there's this scare about, gosh, is it worth our money and our time to invest in this artist? Do they have drug problems? Do they have band problems? Are they going to, continue to deliver great music? And so,
Right.
There's a lot of variables in there that make the entire process a little bit scary for both sides. But my thing about, if I were an independent artist, and right now it's really cool to be an unsigned artist, in that you get to keep complete control of your creativity. You go in under a major label, they may want you to rearrange the entire sound of your songs.
And they normally do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And in fact, why don't we just talk about it? If you get signed, what are they going to do? And one of the first things they almost always do is have you record an album, and it may be you're re-recording a successful album that you already had as an independent, only now they're going to bring in some big shot producer who's got a history of producing hits. You're gonna go to some big fancy studio, possibly in LA, but it could be anywhere. They're going to, they're gonna pull out all the stops and spend a pretty good chunk of change having you record a whole new album. And it could be all new music, it could be all your old music, but either way, it's a whole new album. And one of the reasons they do that is so that they can own it.
Exactly.
If you've got a great album and doesn't need any help, doesn't need to be redone, but you get signed, well, the label doesn't own that yet. They don't have the masters. They don't, there may be something in the contract that says you've got to turn that over to them. But once they've got that, they own it and they can do whatever they want with it. And they commonly do.
And speaking of contracts, if you should be so lucky to have a label approach you, and they could be a small label, independent label, or a major label, you have got to have an entertainment lawyer or some kind of legal advice before you sign your life away.
And it's important to get an entertainment attorney because there are things in record company contracts that are unique to the industry. And somebody who's a whiz at contracts for, say, construction, isn't going to be familiar with these and isn't going to realize what's going on, or because the music industry has gotten very creative and very cruel with how they treat the artist.
Yeah.
The big thing is, okay, they've spent a lot of money on recording your new album, and maybe it sounds awesome. So now they're going to spend a lot of money on promoting the album. They may spend $1 million, literally, on radio promotion. And so, you get a big hit, your records are selling. Where's the money?
Or not.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But even if they are selling.
Well, where's the money going? Well, it's going to the record label because of the word recoupable. Every dime they spend on you, they get back before you get anything.
With interest.
Sometimes it's called an ROI, a return on investment. And absolutely they are in it for the bottom line money. And they do expect and really basically deserve to get a return on their investment because they are going out on a limb.
They are.
Because they might have faith in you as the band, but they're looking at you as money bags.
Yeah.
And, then there's the thing about how many albums, some of the biggest names in the world, like Prince and Paul McCartney, who've released albums in the last, say, 5 years, had to eat them. They send out these albums and they all come in, you might sell 100,000 CDs, which is basically nothing in this day and age.
Yeah,
Why is that? Because people are into the digital downloads.
I've heard of bands getting signed and they didn't read it because they were so excited about getting signed, but they didn't see the part that said, basically, just to put it in plain words, you owe us for the next 20 years. So in other words, they went in, changed their music, so it wasn't even their sound anymore, and then every penny you make for the next 20 years, we keep because that's what your payment is to us. See, a lot of people think you get signed from a label and you're going to make money. You have to pay the label. Remember Leanne Rimes when she came out with Blue? Way back, whenever it was, back in the 90s, I think it was. Her parents had to put a second mortgage on their house for $250,000. They paid $250,000 for one song. Wow. And because the label stuck their necks out and said, okay, we're going to take a chance on you, but it's going to cost $250,000 for this song, which was Blue. And luckily, she was a big hit.
Yeah, she's lucky because most of the time when you put down that kind of money, first of all, that's just a ridiculous amount of money for the artist to have to put down, because who can even convince their parents to do something like that if your parents have it?
Well, luckily her parents believed in her. Which is a point we're going to come up to a little bit later on. But yeah, it's you really need to read those contracts because the labels are not going to be paying you for years on end.
Yeah, not unless you're selling millions of albums and you can pay them back quickly, and that's just not happening as much as it used to. And they're not interested in a band that's going to sell 50,000 albums, or even 100. They want 1 million, or more. And there's a lot of money to be made there if you're selling millions of albums, or millions of downloads, or millions of whatever. But something else the label is going to do is they're going to give you tour support, okay? Because there's a lot of money to be made on the tour. So they're going to pay for the hotel rooms, they're going to pay for the tour bus or the airplanes or whatever. They're going to make sure you've got great gear and you've got roadies and you've got a cool backdrop and set or stage show, whatever it is you need. And, that's great, but that is also recoupable. They're going to get a cut of your merchandise. They may get all of your merchandise depending on the deal you make with them. And thus eliminating a lot of your sources of revenue. Now, they don't want you to be completely broke. So of course, if you go, oh my God, I can't afford to pay my bills, I'm broke. If they're making money on you, they're going to throw you some, but that's going to be recoupable too.
I'm eating top ramen every day, 3 times a day.
They might also come in and aside from rearranging your songs, they might rearrange your band and tell you to get rid of the drummer.
Exactly.
This guy's been with you for 10 years before you made it so-called big. And what are you supposed to do with that? I mean, there's some really tough decisions to make about giving up the creative end of your business and the business end of your business as well. So this is a case where you look before you leap.
You may not even have to give up that much creative if you're really good at it. But you are going to have to work with a producer who's going to be creative, and he may want to take your music in a different direction that you hadn't considered before, and that may or may not go well. They're going to hire consultants for how you look. They're going to hire people to dress you and help you with your stage performance, which is all awesome stuff. And you can do that on your own. These same people who consult for the labels will consult independently, but you've got to pay them.
Yes.
They don't do that for free. It's a pro and a con. They can do a lot for you, but you're going to have to pay for it sooner or later. And of course, they're going to take their cut out of everything because they want to make profit too.
I read someplace not that long ago. I can't remember the exact percentage, but it's really high, like 80% of all bands that recently get signed, this is nowadays, that get signed, over 80% of them still have to work a full-time job or at least a part-time job to make it.
That's terrible.
That's on top of them.
Demos, like food demos at the supermarket.
Well, hopefully you can get a job at least working in the music industry, be a studio musician or something like that, get paid a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
But can teach. But just talking about the labels and stuff, if they bring somebody in to help you with your songwriting, or if you're one of those artists who's not a good songwriter and they might bring you songs that you don't own, then if they help you with the songwriting, then and maybe even outside of this in the contract, they might want a piece of your publishing.
Exactly.
A terrible loss if you get a big hit, because down the road, that's that mailbox money that will hopefully keep showing up.
Yeah, see, and that's the biggest chunk of change right there that people make is from the music. Whoever wrote the song, they get the first chunk. Well, after BMI and ASCII, and all that there. So
there's a lot to consider. And I was just looking at this one how-to on Wiki, and they say the first thing you want to do, there's certain things to do to get signed or recognized by a label. Develop your image. Go to the gym.
Yeah.
Image is everything, especially if you want to be noticed by the major labels. It's very rare that an overweight or unkempt-looking singer will be courted by major labels.
Yeah, you don't want to go out there on stage looking like me. You know?
Me, I'm built like olive oil. She was kind of cool. Avoid drugs. The word gets out, that a drug addict can be a very, very costly investment. Get great photos and videos made in a press pack. And you've got to be very well rehearsed.
None of that is cheap. And it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And work.
And that's where the labels, that's another thing they can do is help you get a really great video done for each song, or whatever songs they want to promote, and that can be $50,000 a song to get a really top-notch music video,
or even more. Probably even more. Before we go too much further here, I want to mention again for the new listeners that just tuned in, we have opened up our chat room, and if you go to indie104.com, click on the chat room, we're in there right now. And if you have a specific question or if you have a story you want to tell us about this here, get in there, tell us, hey, I have a story, and then we'll give you a number that you can call to come online with this and tell us about your story about, hey, we got signed. And in fact, everybody that I've talked to, every independent artist that I've talked to that was signed by a major label, within the first year, they've tried to get out of it. Every single
that's not easy.
Every single person.
That's why you certainly need an entertainment lawyer in your court and on your side of the team, so that you'll know what is actually being said and laid down there.
Yeah,
we could have had Chuck Hughes on this with the Hillbilly Hellcats because, they had their own private label, and a lot of bands set up their own private record label, and it's usually just them. But, he managed to sell about 50,000 CDs. I mean, for independent artists, that's really good. For a major label, they're going, you're kidding. We can't even begin to recover our investment with something like that.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's a good point you brought that up, because in our next segment, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Do it yourself. How you can do all of this yourself with today's state-of-the-art technology called the Internet. And you can do all this stuff yourself. It's a lot of work, but you can do it yourself, and you can make a big. There was a couple bands, and I forgot who they are. I'm just going to throw one out, like Three Doors Down. A band like that. They did it by themselves. There's
look at Fish.
A bunch of bands.
Look at the Grateful Dead.
Yeah, they did it all by themselves.
It's right there.
Yeah, they did it all themselves.
But that takes a lot of work too.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but you're making all the money. Because just because you get signed by a label doesn't mean you're going to kick back and relax. It's still a lot of work. In fact, you kind of mentioned it. The record labels, they're expecting you to keep your image up and do all this on your own. They expect you to do that as you sign. So if you change, guess what? They're going to fire you. In fact, there's a lot of people that got fired that got a record deal. Katy Perry, she got fired from her first record label. In fact, I think she had 3 record labels, and she was fired from at least one of them, possibly 2, because they weren't selling.
Right. And that's the main thing. They don't care if you change as long as you keep selling records.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all about. It's all about money.
They're done with it.
Yeah, it's all about money to them. But it's not the greatest thing. But we're going to talk a little bit about maybe some stories. And actually, we have about a minute and a half. David, did you say you had a story that you wanted to?
Yeah. Here's one. It's a band I really liked in the '90s. I think they started up in '93. They were called the Ugly Americans, and they toured. They were out of Austin. And they toured around all over the country. They toured really hard. They're a really good band, had some great tunes. In '98, at some point they got signed. Mm-hmm. And then in '98, they realized they were making less money, even though they had songs on the radio and stuff. They were making less money since they got signed. And then they had a falling out with their label and reformed. There may have been some changes in band members, but basically they reformed as a band called the Scabs. And they did that as sort of a protest against the record labels, because, you know, the Ugly Americans were doing everything right, they were doing everything good, and suddenly they get signed and they're making less money. And so, you know, this was a band that wanted to get out of their contract, but, you know, they couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll talk more about that and how you can do it yourself when we come back right here on Band Talk.
Gigging, everything you need to know about playing gigs except how to play your acts. The book by David Barber, now available for Kindle and all other e-readers. Gigging covers topics from booking to getting paid, with some tips on how to get along with the sound guy and the rest of the staff at any venue. Gigging also includes real-life humorous true gig stories about bands who did it wrong. This book is required reading for new bands, aspiring rock stars, and seasoned pros who keep having problems. Learn from the mistakes of others and earn the respect that your music deserves. Visit indie104.com and use the coupon code on the homepage to get $10 off your purchase.
And we're back with more Band Talk with Carmen Allgood, David Barber, and Mark
Hey, that was the new Ben Franklin's and their song "About You." Those guys are a Denver band, and they've been playing around for a few years, and this is their most recent album called Peter Gabriel, which seems like a strange name for an album, but it works.
Do any of the songs have anything to do with Peter Gabriel?
I don't, not that I'm aware of, but...
Well, maybe
you know,
they put that on there in big letters, hoping people will just pick it up thinking it's a new Peter Gabriel album.
Yeah, that's a
I mean,
good
there's
idea.
a really tacky marketing approach, but hey, whatever works.
Hey, if it works.
They put it in brackets or like parentheses.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what that means.
All right. Well, if you just tuned in, you're listening to Band Talk right here on Indy 104 and iRADIO LA. I am Mark Maverick along with Carmen Allgood and David Barber, and today we are talking about getting signed by a record label. Do you really want to get signed? And if you missed the first half of the show, it's basically no. And we're going to... And
in the second half, no.
Yeah. I mean, there are some good things about it, but the bad outweigh the good. And now
you need to have all of the rights in your corner because you are the artist, and they're looking at you as though you're a big dollar sign for them.
Yeah.
So make sure that you wield that power, that you have something that they truly want, because these guys that are trying to sign you up are not musicians.
No, they're lawyers.
So, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
but also make sure that you have a very good attorney that understands everything that's in the contracts and can revise it to make sure that you're not locked into some dreadful situation for years to come. Yeah. That you might want to make it a 3-year contract, you know, with an option to renew if everybody's happy, people are making money, it's going great guns. Yes, then you want to renew. If, they're stealing all the money and you're eating ramen noodle every night and still required to go out and do 60 concerts a year, then, all bets are off. You have to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
One of the other things you want to be careful about is to get a reversion clause in your contract. And that
reversion.
That means that if they don't promote and sell your music, particularly songs you've written, that the rights after 5 years or maybe 10 years or whatever revert back to you, just by virtue of the fact that they're not using it. Because you never know when down the road, some song you've written could get, picked up for use as a theme song on a popular TV show. Who knows?
Or somebody else remakes it, and then they're going to make all the money. Well, the record label still makes some money, but somebody else will remake that album or that song, and then they try to recoup some more money off of it.
Right.
And then here's another area that we should just at least touch on. There's a band that I play on my show, and I'm not going to talk about names here right now, but they have signed under a record label for 2 years. And, if you look at the record label's resume, all the guys are hot shots, and they've been around the block, and it seems that they know what they're doing. This is so that they can control the digital distribution of this band's and any other band that signs up with them, control the digital distribution of all of their music. And they split any profits 50-50. So the money goes to the record label first, and then as another thing, they said, well, now we're going to push your music out to 2,500 radio stations. Well, the band comes back to me a little bit later and said, we're so disappointed not one station played one song. And so obviously that doesn't lend itself to helping you get any music downloads. And so they're not selling any downloads. They're not selling any physical CDs because, physical CDs are not all that popular anymore. Mm-hmm. And so, they're not really standing their ground, and they should be asking the company, well, what have you done to promote us? Well, the reality is nothing. So It's a numbers game for them. Once again, they get 50,000 bands that are willing to fork over all digital rights to this group. They know that some money is going to come in based on that many artists. So, once again, it's all on the record label's side, and the artists are sitting there holding an empty bag.
And the 50%, that's after costs. Typically, what an artist might get out of an iTunes download, okay, iTunes takes the first cut, and they take probably half, and then your label's going to take, then there's a distributor, and they'll take half of what's left, and then the label takes half of that, and so you're lucky if you get
11 cents.
Yeah, yeah. You'd be very lucky to get 11 cents out of an iTunes download. Now, if you sell millions of them, you might, make a few hundred or maybe even a few $1,000s. But it literally has to be millions in order for it to add up to anything significant.
Yeah.
And then,
but you're the last
may have
on the
to bug
list.
The label to pay you at all.
And then you're going to be the last in line to receive any money as it trickles down through all the other hands that are stuck out, catching the coins as they fall from the sky.
Right.
Yeah, and it's really hard to get these guys to change the contract because they have all these contracts already typed up. All they do is put in your name. And the reason why is, and David mentioned this earlier, they are all lawyers. They're all attorneys. They know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about, and it's going to be really hard to stiff them. And I want to ask a question right now. Everybody who trusts a lawyer, I want you to raise your hand. Okay, I don't see any hands up right now, so obviously nobody trusts lawyers. But no, I mean, attorneys, they know what they're talking about, and they know loopholes and how to plug those holes. So you got to really do your homework. But again, I kind of want to talk now about how you can do it yourself. With technology, in fact, this is why the record labels are closing down, is because everybody, is doing it themselves. And you have to remember, you are the independent artist, and you are the artist. And some of the things that you have to remember when you do it yourself is you set some realistic goals. Set the goals monthly, yearly, however they are, but make them realistic. Don't say, okay, I'm going to sell 5 billion albums by the end of the year. Set some realistic goals. And make sure that you get out on radio interviews, radio promotion. There's a lot of radio promoters out there. And in fact, we just interviewed some of them a couple weeks back. How they can help you. Again, all of this costs money, but it does work. But again, do your homework on these. Get out there and tour. Get your name out there so people know who you are. Distribution. Now, I'm not a big knowledgeable person on distribution. Any of you two know anything about distribution?
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing.
Difficult. Now, it used to be these are the guys who would take your albums and put them in the record stores. And they would make sure your CD was available in Best Buy, for example, all over the country. Well, if you're not touring in certain parts of the country and you're not getting airplay, nobody's going to buy your record. So, Best Buy in Wisconsin isn't going to want to carry it if you're in playing in Texas and that's the only place you play.
Mm-hmm.
So distribution is difficult because there's got to be some incentive for people to go to the store and buy it. But nowadays, distribution also includes online and electronic. And this is something that a distributor could do for you. And you can hire these distribution companies yourself. And they're going to take 50% at least. But they're going to get you on every online store out there. A good distributor, they're going to get you on iTunes. They're going to get you on everything. And everything where you can sell it. Now, not to say you can't do that yourself. You can. It just takes a lot of effort. But it's not impossible, and you can do it yourself.
Yeah, and you can research on the internet and find out, hey, how do I distribute my music? And there's ways.
I'd like to just talk about this guy for a moment, Jaron and the Long Road to Love. Now, if you've never seen this video, and this song is just an absolute hit. And here's this independent artist born in Georgia. He's Jewish, and he has a twin brother. And just to make a long story short, they were a duo. And then the other brother, Evan, decided, I'm going to leave and go have a family and kids and all that. See you later. So anyway, Jaron wrote this song, his first solo single, Pray for You. Now, if you've ever seen this song, you can understand why this song is a major hit. And so he released it in 2009 on his own. And then it was getting so much action on the internet, this one company, Big Machine Records, assumed the position of promoting this single and a forthcoming album. And then it was distributed through a partnership of Jaron's called Jaron Wood Label. And this song reached top 40 in the Billboard Hot Country song charts and in the Billboard Hot 100. The guy made some big money off of this, what you would call a one-hit wonder. And so he did do that on his own. He said, and this is a quote, that the song wasn't started or pushed by some major label or organization. I would like to take the credit for its success, but honestly, this is something fans want, and they're the ones calling radio to have them play it. But he released it on the internet where it just went insane. He had like 750,000 views of this video. Lord knows how many downloads he had of this great song. And so there is a perfect example of what an independent artist can do if you've got a hit song and you get it out there in the proper channels on the internet, YouTube.
Now this is the hard part is that guy had a hit song. He had a great song. And he recorded it well. Unfortunately, the typical band doesn't have that.
Yeah.
That's true. And even those that do somehow still have a hard time. You know, a little bit of luck, a lot of tenacity, and a song that just really appealed to millions and millions and millions of people. And plus, he's a really nice-looking young guy. And the video was awesome. The song was hilarious, and it was a great song on top of that. I mean, he's a great keyboard player. But, right place, right time, having faith in yourself, pushing it out there, and then once you've proven that you can have something successful, the record labels are going to come and knock on your door.
Yeah. And another thing, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago as well when we had our social media networking specialist on here. YouTube. Get a music video and put it on YouTube because people are scouring YouTube for new talent. And, so you make an awesome music video, but to make an awesome music video, you need Eddie Van Halen. No, that was a different movie. But no, make an awesome music video, and it doesn't have to be high budget. You can do this, you can buy... in fact, we talked about this on another show the other night. A $270 high-def camera and videotape your movie, as long as somebody knows anything about video productions, and post-produce it with free software. Every PC has free video editing software with it. You edit the software, the video, and boom, you got yourself a music video. It's pretty simple, but get it on YouTube.
They don't all have to be high quality, slick music videos like you'd see on MTV. Those are the expensive ones that the labels make. You can, if it's just a live recording of your show, and it comes out pretty good, nobody screws up in the middle of the song.
Well, you record yourself playing live, but put your soundtrack behind it.
Well, that's true. That's what the professionals do. You can take your studio recording of the audio and lay that over or under your video, so it sounds perfect. And then you can put that on YouTube, and hopefully you've got something worth looking at. And at least can give people an idea of what you look like and stuff like that. And you never know when one of these videos is going to go viral, and a million people are going to want to watch it, and that can get people to your show, people buying your CDs and other merchandise.
Or buying that one song, in droves. And that's another thing about YouTube and the do-it-yourself generation, which I just love this. And this just levels the playing field for everybody. We are so forgiving. If you don't have a big Hollywood production, we love you anyway. I mean, you can have this grainy, god-awful video, but if your music, like you said, you lay a high-quality recording behind it, people are going to overlook the video in favor of the sound every single time.
Well, look at a lot of these music videos they have out right now. They put all the grainy stuff in there and make it look...
They're doing it that way on purpose,
Yeah, and, in fact, we were just talking about this on the show the other night. All they want to hear is your music. They don't really care about the video as such. They want to hear the story. But anyway, we're going to talk more...
Because it's psychologically a proven fact. People are far more inclined to believe what they hear over what they see.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk more about that when we come back, right here on Band Talk.
Band Talk.
This is Mark Maverick, and I want to say hi to all my friends at Pep's Pizza in La Habra. They have award-winning pizza, pasta, and sandwiches. Bring the entire family to experience fun and entertainment like trivia, bingo, comedy night, and the new Pizza Rock concert series. Pep's Pizza, 165 South Harbor Boulevard in La Habra. Experience it.
1, 2, 3, 4. Bad guys, good girls, runs out of the tracks. Leave the time for college and you're never looking back. Part-time job, yeah, you're lifting up a shirt. Underneath the bleachers, being late for work. Oh, American weekend. American weekend. 80s movies, kissing in the rain. Hours and hours on the subway train. Headphones on, New York City is mine. When I'm not with you, I'm just killing time. American weekend. American weekend. And all we ever wanted was our life to call our own. All we ever needed was to never wake up alone. Sneaking into backyards, someone stole our bikes. Change myself into something you like. Drinking more beers up in Central Park. Will the old man play ball out till dark? Oh, American weekend. Oh, American weekend. And all we ever wanted was our life to call our own. All we ever needed was to never wake up alone. Yeah, all we ever wanted was our life to call our own. And all we ever needed was to never wake up alone. All we ever wanted was our life to call our own. And all we ever needed was to never wake up
And we're back with more band talk with Carmen Allgood, David Barber, and Mark Maverick.
And we are back live right here on Band Talk, and the band you just heard was The Great American Novel with American Weekend, and you can find them on Reverb Nation. And in fact, if you go to the website, indie104.com, right now, you can listen to their interview that we did with them yesterday. So anyway, we only have like 5 more minutes, so we got to get this topic over here. We're talking about, do you really want to get signed by a record label? And pretty much no, unless you really have a sweet deal. But I forgot what we were talking about, David.
I wanted to mention your master recordings. If you're signed to a label, chances are they can own and control your master recordings. And so if you wanted to go to another label or go independent or whatever, they've got your master recordings. And if you want them back or to get them, you have to buy them from them. And that's difficult to do, or expensive at least. So that's something, another area where you want to be careful. There's a story, Chris Daniels, a pretty well-known name in Denver, a few years ago got signed to K-Tel Records, which was interesting. I guess they were trying to go in a new direction, and he sent them all of his masters he had like a bunch of albums that he had recorded previous, but they were going to maybe re-release them and push them on TV or whatever they were going to do. And then, without warning, they went out of business, and they still had all of his master recordings. And it took considerable effort for him to get them back, particularly when a label goes under. All their possessions may just be sold at auction.
Yeah.
And if you don't know who's got your stuff, you're screwed.
Yeah, just like a friend of mine, he owns, I don't know, not all of them, but a bunch of Beatles. He owns the library for the Beatles. So he gets all the rights to those songs.
Michael Jackson?
I thought that was Sony and Paul McCartney owned most of that.
No, there's some songs that they sold, because they need to make money. So, hey, here's part of our library. Boom, So, so that can happen, too.
I just wanted to mention that Jaron song I'm talking about, I Pray For You. When I looked at it a few months ago, there were 750,000 views. Now there's almost 10 million views of that song on YouTube.
Wow. Yeah.
That's a good song, then.
Yeah,
It's a good song.
So get
he made a lot of money on that. More power to him.
Yeah, get your music video on YouTube. It's really going to help you out.
And they will pay you if it gets millions of hits.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah. If you monetize it, so little ads pop up, they'll pay you for that.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. Now, one thing I want to touch on here before we go, because we only have 2.5 minutes, is when you do it yourself, there's a lot of things. In fact, you can do everything yourself to get your music out there and make it big. And one of the biggest things is start your own record label. Anybody can start a label. Again, Google it. How do I start my record label? Because there are some legal things you have to do as well. But it's really simple. You just have to name it. In fact, Mick Jagger has his own label, and his music is on his label.
What's the label called?
I don't know in front of me. I don't have it here. But he's got his own label because we play some of his music. And the reason why we play it is because he is now an independent artist on his own. Not as the Stones, but on his own. And
he must have lost his contract with the label.
Well, no, because
decided not to renew it.
No, because they wouldn't play his music.
Okay.
They wouldn't record. He's been recording music for years, and he wanted to get it out, but they wouldn't do it. It has to be the Rolling Stones, so he wanted to keep it himself, and so he came out with his own label and produced his own music. And to me, it sounds just like the Stones.
He is the Stones.
Yeah, he is the sound. So.
You can make a record label, and some people just pick their street address, 3rd Street Records,
Yeah, exactly. You can name it, whatever you want.
After your kitty cat, my kitty cat records or whatever. So there you go.
Crunchy Records, PC Records, anything. You just name it, and get on there. Anyway, we are out of time. Do you guys want to talk about how to start your own record label next week?
Let's do that.
Okay, so next week we're going to talk about starting your own record label. So, and make sure you go to indie104.com and click on Band Talk and subscribe to our iTunes podcast. You get to hear all the shows right there. And starting, this week, but again next week, if you have any questions, you can go into our chat room on indie104.com as well, and you can ask us a question live. You can also email us at...
Why are you doing this?
Yeah, you can also email us at bandtalk@indie104.com if you have a subject or a topic you want us to talk about. Anyway, we got to get going. We'll see you next week. Everybody say goodbye.
Goodbye. We love you.
The preceding program was furnished by Skype.
Join me, Mark Maverick, along with Carmen Allgood and David Barber as we talk about everything you ever wanted to know about being in a band, from gigging to managing, on Band Talk, live every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, exclusively on Indie 104. Band Talk.
Black, black, black as blood, baby's black as blood. Black, black, black as blood, baby's black as blood. Eats away like a poison to my vein, closer to the heart, closer to the brain.
Attention jammers. Are you between the ages of 10 and 20? Do you have a band? Win the Jam Hollywood wants you. The new national hit television show Win the Jam Hollywood, hosted by comedian Johnny Dart, is taking registrations now. You'll be on national television and have a chance to win a major recording contract and other great prizes. Go to winthejamhollywood.com or indie104.com.